afternoon everyone, it's Sunday the 22nd of November 2025 and we've started our training really early because we're very slow.
So we're the Veta sisters, Adele.
Hi.
Amber. We come from a family of DWers. It's all our dad's fault.
Yeah, Dad's fault. It's got us into this mess in the first place.
So we did our first DWs in
1993 for me.
and I think 97 for me, something like that.
And today we're out training for our 10th. 10th. Straight through.
Yeah.
We've had a slight mishap in between with
COVID,
finishing early and
babies.
Yeah. So Mr. Fielden wonders why we go out so early. We go out so early because we're so slow. We like to take our time and enjoy the race. But we do train, but just not as frequently as some people. So if you want a normal human blog, this is us being us.
Realistic training.
Yeah.
for the non-elite.
Yeah, let's get on with it then. Let's get on the water. Looks nice today. I'll give you a little start of the where we're going. So this is Worcester Basin, all the way down to the bottom, and then we're heading up there. See you later.
Hello everyone, it is 9:30 on Saturday the 29th. My name's Amy.
And I'm Emma.
And we are trying to decide on what kit to wear for the Ross Warland race tomorrow.
So, at the moment, it says it is going to be 2 degrees at 8 a.m, rising to 6 degrees at 12 o'clock. So, we're going to be paddling between 2 degrees and 6 degrees. It's going to be 11 mile an hour, probably a headwind, and gusting up to 19. So, it's going to be a bit of chilly and a bit of a wind chill.
Okay, so lots of kit to choose from. I'm in a really fortunate position. I've got some new pieces and I need to really work out what layering system works best and probably have a good reflection on that setup once we're off the water tomorrow. What are you thinking?
I'm not going to use my armoured gilet. As great as it is, it's going to be a bit cold tomorrow. So I've also got my winter hooded jacket. It's not going to rain, so I'm going to go with my nice fleece-lined rooster jacket. I'm going to layer with it. So I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm probably going to go with a short sleeve thermal and one of my 2 long sleeve thermals. Also going to have a pair of leggings. I don't know if I should have thermal leggings tomorrow, but these are the only ones I bought, so I will be wearing these. I bought a spray deck, but we're going out of portages. It's just going to annoy me. So my spray deck's staying in the car. Waterproof socks to go with my paddling shoes. I tried trainers last week and realised that I couldn't actually paddle with trainers on, so I'm sticking with wetsuit boots. Followed by either a woolly hat or a sun hat. I wear contact lenses when I'm paddling, so it'll be a sun hat potentially with my sunglasses, or it'll just be sunglasses and a woolly hat. And of course a buoyancy aid.
Got pretty similar kit options to Emma. As I said, lots of these pieces are new to me, so I will be having a think about how they're performing on the water tomorrow and then looking at the adjustments that I might need to make for future. As well as trialing kit, I'm also thinking about the nutrition. It's a 20-mile paddle, so getting energy on board is really important. Emma and I are going through some gels at the moment just to see what we prefer from a texture, a taste and a performance perspective. So we've got Science and Sports. I know that Emma's been really enjoying the Kendall Mint Company options. We're also having a look at some of the High Five with a caffeine hit there. So it's really important to have a look at the carbohydrates, the amount that are going in from each gel. Tomorrow will also be a chance to try out my new buoyancy aid. Really like the idea of having the hydration bladder in the back, so getting that one set up. I probably won't fill this 3 litre bladder to capacity because I think it's going to be a bit tight to go in the back of that buoyancy aid, so probably 1.5 litres. And again, that will be really good to see how much fluid I'm getting on board and thinking about my requirements going forwards. I'm going to supplement that with my front pouch bottle, probably have an energy drink in there as well. So lots for me to think about tomorrow in terms of new kit, new hydration, new energy gels, and I'll let you know how it goes.
3, maybe 4 years ago, bumped into a good friend, some might know Pete Clark in Bath. He's a DW veteran. and he was off training for the DW that weekend, and we bumped into him, me and another friend actually, and we're in a coffee shop, and we said, "What are you up here for?" And he said, "Oh, I'm training for the DW." And we were like, "Well, what's the DW?" And as he described it, we immediately thought, "Wow, that sounds like a good gig. How difficult can that be?" So we thought we'd give this, we thought it was something, we both wanted a challenge in our lives at that stage. And so both of us looked at each other and said, right, let's do this. I had never kayaked before in my life, apart from probably splashing around in a plastic boat. Didn't know the difference between a kayak and a canoe, but we thought we wanted to give this a go. So we joined Bath Canoe Club, and although I lived quite a way away, we conducted most of our training from there, and we did their basic courses, and in order to learn really a bit about kayaking. The only snag was that actually none of that had any relationship with marathon kayaking. We didn't know that at the time. So we then got into a K2, straight into a K2. I think our first paddle out was in the Bristol Harbour, I think. And we spent 2 hours swimming pretty much. I don't think we got more than 5 meters away from the side. So we then realized actually this is going to be a bit of a challenge. We then set ourselves up and spent the next sort of few months at Bath on the Avon, pushing off away from Bath Canoe Club, and slowly but surely we managed to get 50 meters, 100 meters, 150 meters before we'd swim, until such a time as we could actually paddle off and get through. As the winter then came, it became suddenly dawned on us how tricky this was going to be. Swimming became very uncomfortable, and we were still doing a lot of it at that time. But we kept going, and we were intent on doing the DW in 2023. That was our target, which was the sort of next Easter. However, in the February of 23, about to start the watersides, I picked up an injury, which stopped me paddling. And so that year we were off. But I think what it did do was it told us, or it was a good point to realise that actually we were nowhere near going to be up for the DW that year. And we would have found that probably out on the watersides. Then 2023 came round, and we continued to paddle through the summer. We got ourselves better. We were using a Bath boat, but it wasn't the boat that we wanted to do the DW in. It just wasn't quite right for us, and we managed to get a boat loaned to us. We got a Mirage loaned to us, which was an amazing boat, and we immediately felt stable and comfortable in it. And we did all our training through the winter in the Mirage, on the Avon, and pretty much on the Kennet and Avon Canal. Really good hard training. We did all 4 watersides that year and got through them all. The only problem with 2024 was that the conditions, it got very wet and the flow got very high. And while we'd got ourselves to be comfortable in the Mirage, we were still not particularly stable, if I'm being honest. And that year we entered, and I was surprised, but we managed to get through the vetting to enter the race in 2024. And I have to say, it was one of the most amazing experiences we had doing the race there. Got on the water at Devizes, and we just took every stage as it comes, the Pound, the Crofton Locks, all the way down to Newbury, through Newbury. And actually on that particular day, it was a nice sunny day, the conditions were nice, and on the canal it was just like being out on a Saturday afternoon paddle on our training. However, things changed when it got turned to night. We got past Aldermaston, and just past Aldermaston it got dark, and that section was particularly dark, the Aldermaston down to Fobney section. We had 3 swims, I think. We paddled straight into a fallen tree that we hadn't spotted, which tipped us over. I missed a turn because I couldn't see it, and we went straight into the bank and turned over. And there was one other occasion we swam as well, which wasn't great. But we kept going. We got to Reading, did the kit change at Reading, and we actually felt quite strong. The training we'd done had been very good. And we then jumped into the boat at Reading, through Sonning, and I can't exactly remember when, because it was sort of, 1 o'clock in the morning, I think. We had a spill in very fast conditions on the Thames, where we got pinned up against a tree on an island, which was pretty uncomfortable. We managed to get ourselves off the island, but were swimming with our boat down the River Thames, trying to find somewhere to get alongside to be able to get back in, which we did. We got back in, and we cracked on, and we continued on the routes through down the Henley Straits, through Marlow. We got past Marlow, got to Cookham, again feeling quite good. Got through Cookham, and just as we got past Cookham, about a mile, maybe a mile and a half from Bolters, the cable in our boat snapped, and as I was putting in probably a little bit of over controlling on the rudder, the boat span round in the flow. We managed to get alongside, and to cut a long story short, we were in a place which our support crew couldn't get to us, well, for quite some time. They eventually arrived about an hour and 15, by which time we'd made a rudimentary repair, but the steering wasn't right. The flow was very fast, and we're about to come up against Bolters, which was, it was pretty fast flowing at Bolters. We tried then to repair the boat, but by which time I think Paul and I had reached a point where we were pretty cold, and the boat wasn't in a fit state to continue. So alas, at about 74.5 miles into the race, we had to retire, and that was it. Our race over. Recovered home, and reflected upon it as being a most amazing experience, but really gutted not to have completed it. Fortunately, John, who's sat here now recording, was in the back of my mind. His background is outdoor activities. He'll probably cover off what his background is at some point. But of all of the people I knew, I thought, you know what? I know he hasn't done this sort of paddling before, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be somebody that A, would be interested, and B, would be competent to do this. So we jumped in, and we still had the Mirage at that point, and we actually hit it off really well, and we were going, I thought, quite well in the Mirage. About 2 weeks before Waterside A, the boat that we'd borrowed had to be returned. So a massive blow to our attempts. We now didn't have a boat, but fortunately we had good friends, and a good friend managed to find us another boat. We got into a talk, and although it's meant to be really, really stable, but potentially more stable than the Mirage, its type of stability was different to what we were used to. It used to what we'd say twitch quite a bit, and that caused certainly me a bit of nervousness, and I think that transferred along the boat and caused John some snags in the back, who was trying to keep us upright. I was pretty devastated that, it felt like I was a beginner again. However, John and his mentorship and coaching skills, he basically brought back my confidence. We got back in the talk, we did some real basic drills, and we started paddling the talk again. And we got really used to the talk and comfortable in her. But again, she was a borrowed boat, so we were really nervous that once again we had the risk of her being called back to her rightful owners. And an opportunity came up this summer to buy our old boat, who we haven't named yet, and we've still got to name her. But you've already, you will see a video of her if you haven't already. She's an old girl we've spent the whole summer doing a bit of refurbishment on. She's currently on the top of my car, having just finished our paddle. It was like we've been paddling her for years. She's really, really good. So she's definitely our boat for this race, if we can keep her going and we don't damage her. And we need to look after her. So that's really how I got to where we are now. But anyway, that's the story so far.
We're back, we made it. So short session today, just been up the canal and done a bit of portage practice. Nice windy,
Lots of fishermen.
Yeah, lots of fishermen. I guess key lesson today is just adapt to whatever's thrown at you. So the session didn't go as we planned, but yeah, we changed, we adapted. It was all good, and we're done. Time for a cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yay! Morning, Amy and Emma here in Banbury this morning. It's a bit chilly.
As you can see, we've both decided to go for our rooster tops and a long sleeve base layer underneath. So we'll let you know how that layering system works, chat to you at the end.
So good morning, it's Steve and John, currently at Newbury. We're at the library car park. Our trusty boat, who we have now named Ugly Betty, is with us. We've just dropped the car down at Fobney. Then John's driven in the van up to Newbury. We're going to put in on the canal and do a stretch from Newbury down to Fobney, which on the DW can be one of the darker sections. And we last time I was out on it on the DW, we got caught out. We had a couple of swims, so it's a good recce. We were actually meant to be on the Thames today, but the flow was up, and without a bank crew, we just judged it wasn't safe for us to do today. So this is a really good alternative, and we'll get a good few miles. I think it's 16-17 miles and about 20 portages, so some good stuff. Also dealing with a bit of flow because the flow picks up from Newbury on the canal. Okay, so that's us at the start. I'm not going to hang around because the parking fee is running, and we'll get on and see you on the flip side.
Hiya, we've just finished Rosswarland and we're just going to do a quick wash up before we drive home.
So from a kit perspective, both of us kept our rooster tops on the whole way through, and that was great. I really enjoyed my box pogies as well, especially in that chilly headwind.
So I took my woolly hat off but kept my sun hat on. I think we had a couple of rudder issues, so we're going to replace the rudder before the next race we do because it's got a little bit bent. And yeah,
for me, I think portaging is a skill that I definitely need to look at. I think paddling in the southwest, we don't usually portage, do we? So coming up with locks and having to do that quite regularly is a big learning curve. So portage practice for me.
And me.
So we've just finished our paddle. We're heading back because we're doing the ferry between the van and Steve's car. So obviously Steve and John out today, and we've done Newbury to Fobney. So, and that involved a bit of a ferry. So we both drove up independently, took quite some time. It's a long way from both of our houses. Well, what we did was we both met at Fobney, and we left Steve's car at Fobney, then transferred the boat onto the van roof, drove the van to Newbury, and then we paddled from there. And now we're back in Steve's car, heading back to Newbury to pick up the van for the long drive home. So Steve, paddle itself, how did it go?
So the bit from Newbury to Aldermaston, it wasn't as flowy as I thought it might be given the conditions. We've had quite a lot of rain recently. there was certainly no sections that caused us any difficulty up to Aldermaston. The boat felt a little bit unstable in places, but that was, I think, more to us, and there was something going on, I think, with me and my seating position that just put a bit of a tilt on the boat, and I've got to get that sorted. But apart from that, there was nothing really that troubled us. There's been a section before that had quite a lot of flow coming in from the right, which I was anticipating, and it just it didn't happen today. So we just sort of cruised down to Aldermaston. Quite a few portages. I think there were 20 portages on this, or portages on this section. We did a sort of shuffle rather than a sprint or a run between them, but as we were portaging, and we also sort of developed our technique. We were a bit raggedly at places, and there are a couple of places where the put in was quite high or the get out was high, so we just went one at a time, just on the safe side. A couple of undercuts which nearly caught us out, or nearly caught John out actually. Yeah. But there were no swims, which is always good.
Absolutely.
So then when we got to Aldermaston, we were then on a section of the waterway, which I've done twice before. Once during a practice run, and then once during our failed DW attempt. So I was really keen we did it, and if I'm honest, I didn't recognise much of it. I recognised the bits which become very twisty. So I can't even recall where it is on the section. I don't have my map with me. Perhaps we'll show you on another video. But the river canal, which has got a bit of flow on it by that point, gets a little bit twisty. There's lefts and right, and I just remember at night it being really difficult. So very keen to do that, and it just reminded me how tricky it was.
We need to see how it's done properly.
Okay, so we're back out on the River Foy today. We've had a lovely afternoon paddle. After last week, we learned a fair bit. So we've watched the video footage back from the race, and one of the portages quite scared me, how long we sat still, and how long it took us to get out of the boat. Yes. So we decided today we weren't going to go out for K2 paddle, we were going to go out in K1s with a couple other K1s and practice our K1 portaging.
Yeah, I think having the GoPro on the back of the boat at Rosswarland, as you said, was really eye-opening. For me, one of the big areas of development this afternoon was about the angle at which I approached the portage. Last weekend, I was far too parallel, and making sure I was hitting that 30 to 45 degree angle was really important today, and something that I'm going to continue to drill in future weeks.
I know that when I did K1 and when I previously done K2, every time I get out of the boat, I get out facing backwards and I do a little pirouette, which everyone's always laughed at. And 10 years ago, I could do a pirouette. Now it just covers me in bruises and hurts. So I need to concentrate on which foot I get out of the boat with first. So, and how I stand up using my arms and my legs, not just throwing my body up and rolling around the portage.
Yeah, I think for me as well, acknowledging the leg length in the boat, and so when I was practicing getting out but also more about a controlled getting in, I realised my bottom wasn't landing on the seat, so it was really good feedback actually to look at the leg length and do I need to actually bring my seat a bit closer to my footrest, and hopefully then that will give me a little bit more tension in my normal paddle stroke as well.
See you soon.